Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the studio. You're tuning in to Episode 1 of Module 2 of the Blueprint for Effortless English. I'm your co-host, Ben.
And I'm Anna. It's so wonderful to be back with you all. I've been looking forward to this day for a long time. Today marks a massive transition in our 50-episode journey.
It really does. We've officially completed Module 1, which was all about the mental shift. We spent those first 10 episodes focusing on what goes on inside your head. We talked about breaking the translation trap, silencing your inner critic, and building mental bridges.
But now that we've fixed the architecture of your mind, it's time to start working on the actual sound of your voice. Welcome to Module 2, the Rhythm of Fluency. We call this module Mastering the Music because English is so much more than just a collection of grammar rules and vocabulary words. English is a melody.
That's a perfect way to put it. If Module 1 was about learning to think like a musician, Module 2 is about learning to play the instrument. And the very first thing you need to understand about the instrument of English is sentence stress.
Before we dive into the heart of rhythm, we'd love to ask our listeners for a small favor. If you've made it through the first module and you're excited to start mastering the music of English, please hit the like button and subscribe to the English Chatcast channel.
It's the best way to support us and ensure we can keep providing these modules for you. Plus, it helps our community grow. Now, Anna, when we talk about sentence stress, what's the first thing that usually comes to your mind?
I think about the peaks and valleys. When I first started learning other languages, I used to think that every word was equally important. I tried to give every single word the same amount of volume, the same amount of time, and the same amount of energy.
And what happened when you did that?
I sounded like a robot. It was incredibly exhausting for me to speak, and even worse, it was actually quite difficult for people to understand me. It felt flat. There was no life in it.
That's the most common mistake English learners make. They treat English like a syllable-timed language. In many languages, like Spanish, French, or Japanese, every syllable gets roughly the same amount of time. It's like a steady drum beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
But English isn't like that at all. English is a stress-timed language. This is the fundamental secret to the rhythm of fluency. In English, we don't give every syllable equal time. We prioritize the important words, and we literally squeeze the less important words into the tiny gaps between them.
It's like the difference between a march and a jazz song. A march is very steady and predictable, but jazz has syncopation. It has long notes and short notes. It has heavy hits and light touches. Sentence stress is the jazz of the English language.
So, how do we know which words to hit hard and which words to squeeze?
It comes down to two categories: content words and function words. If you want to understand sentence stress, you have to become very good at distinguishing between these two.
Let's start with content words. These are the words that carry the actual meaning of your sentence. If you were sending a very expensive text message where you had to pay for every word, these are the words you would keep.
Exactly. We're talking about nouns, main verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. These are the stars of the show. When you say a content word, you give it more time, more volume, and a slightly higher pitch. You make it clear. You make it loud.
And then we have the function words. These are the grammar words. They're the glue that holds the sentence together, but they don't carry the primary information. We're talking about articles like a, an, and the. We're talking about prepositions like in, on, at, and for. We're talking about pronouns, auxiliary verbs, and conjunctions.
In the new mindset we built in Module 1, we learned that we don't need to obsess over these function words. And in Module 2, we learned that we shouldn't even really be pronouncing them fully most of the time. We reduce them. We make them short, quiet, and low in pitch.
This is such a revelation for many students. They've spent years in school trying to pronounce every single word perfectly. They try to say the word for with a clear O sound every time. They try to say the word to so it sounds like the number 2.
But if you do that, you destroy the rhythm. If you say, I am going to the store, and you give every word equal weight, it sounds mechanical. I am going to the store.
But a native speaker using the rhythm of fluency will say, I'm going to the store. Notice what happened there. Going and store are the content words. They are the peaks. Everything else is a valley. The words to and the are squeezed together so quickly they almost disappear.
It sounds like, I'm going to the store. The peaks are clear, and the valleys are just a blur of sound. This is what we call the staircase effect. You step up on the important words, and you slide down on the unimportant ones.
Why is this so important for fluency? Is it just about sounding like a native speaker?
No, it's much deeper than that. It's about how the human brain processes English. Because English is a stress-timed language, native speakers have evolved to listen only for the stressed words. Our brains automatically filter out the unstressed function words because we know they don't carry the meat of the message.
So if a learner stresses every word equally, the native speaker's brain gets confused. It's like a signal where every frequency is loud. It's just noise. The listener has to work twice as hard to figure out which words are actually important.
But when you use correct sentence stress, you are highlighting the path for the listener. You're saying, hey, listen to this word, and this word, and this word. You're making it effortless for them to understand you. And as we know, the goal of the blueprint is effortless communication for both the speaker and the listener.
I want to talk about how sentence stress can actually change the entire meaning of a sentence. This is one of the most fascinating parts of the physical shift. You can say the exact same words in the exact same order, but by changing which word you stress, you tell a completely different story.
Let's use a classic example. I'll say a sentence 7 times, and each time I'll move the stress to a different word. The sentence is, I didn't say he stole the money.
Okay, go for it.
I didn't say he stole the money. That implies that maybe someone else said it, but not me.
Right. Now move it to the second word.
I didn't say he stole the money. That's a strong denial. I'm defending myself against an accusation.
What about the third word?
I didn't say he stole the money. This implies I might have suggested it or hinted at it or wrote it down, but I didn't actually say the words out loud.
This is getting interesting. What about the fourth word?
I didn't say he stole the money. Now we're talking about a different person. I said someone stole the money, but not that specific guy.
And the fifth word?
I didn't say he stole the money. This is a very interesting one. It implies he might have borrowed it without asking or found it, but he didn't necessarily steal it.
2 more. Let's do the sixth word.
I didn't say he stole the money. This implies he stole something else. Maybe he stole the jewelry or the car, but not the money.
And finally, the last word.
I didn't say he stole the money. This implies he stole some other money. Maybe he stole your money, but not the money we're talking about right now.
It's incredible. 7 different meanings from the exact same sequence of words. This is why learners who speak in a flat, monotone voice often feel like they're being misunderstood, even when their grammar is perfect. They aren't giving the listener the emotional or logical clues they need to interpret the sentence.
Sentence stress is the primary tool for emphasis. In your native language, you probably do this instinctively. You don't think about it. You just naturally push more air out of your lungs when you want to make a point.
But when we speak a second language, we often lose that physical connection to our breath. We get so worried about the logic that we forget the power of the air.
That's why we call this module the physical shift. You need to start feeling the rhythm in your chest. You need to realize that stressed words take more physical energy to produce. You are literally hitting the air harder.
I remember a student I worked with a few years ago. Let's call him Marco. Marco was a very high-level learner, but he always sounded a bit angry when he spoke English. People were always asking him why he was so intense.
Was he actually angry?
Not at all. He was a very kind, gentle person, but because his native language was syllable-timed, he was stressing every single word in English with the same high intensity. To a native speaker's ear, when you stress every word, you sound like you're shouting or being very aggressive.
It's the linguistic equivalent of writing a whole email in capital letters.
Exactly. I told him he needed to learn to relax on the function words. I told him he needed to learn to be lazy. That's a concept we'll talk about a lot in this module. To speak English with a natural rhythm, you have to be willing to be lazy with your mouth on the unimportant words.
Marco had to learn that it's okay for the word of to just sound like a tiny It's okay for the word and to just sound like a quick n.
Once he started embracing the valleys, his whole personality in English changed. He sounded more relaxed, more approachable, and much more fluent. He wasn't working harder, he was working smarter by concentrating his energy only on the peaks.
Let's talk about the physical mechanics of a stressed syllable. What's actually happening when we stress a word? There are three main components.
First is length. Stressed syllables are longer. You stretch the vowel. If I say the word photograph, that first syllable is stretched. Photograph.
Second is pitch. Stressed syllables are usually at a higher musical note than the surrounding words. Your voice goes up.
And third is volume. You use a bit more force from your diaphragm to make the sound louder. Long, high, and loud. That is the recipe for a peak.
And for the function words, you do the exact opposite. You make them short, low, and quiet.
This creates a beautiful contrast. The contrast is what creates the music. If everything is loud, nothing is loud. If everything is important, nothing is important.
I think a great way for our listeners to start practicing this is by using a physical movement to match the stress. When I'm coaching people on rhythm, I often have them tap their fingers on the table or even bounce their hand in the air like they're conducting an orchestra.
I love that. You can even use your whole body. When you hit a stressed word, you can lean forward slightly or give a small nod. It synchronizes your physical energy with your speech.
Let's try a few practice sentences together, Anna. I'll say them the robotic way first, and then you show us the rhythmic way using proper sentence stress.
I'm ready.
I would like to have a cup of coffee.
I'd like to have a cup of coffee.
Notice how Anna completely ate the words to, and of. They were barely there, but the words cup and coffee were bright and clear.
She is going to the park with her friends.
She's going to the park with her friends.
Parks and friends are the destination of the thought. They get the energy. Everything else is just the path to get there.
This ties back to what we discussed in episode 5 of the first module, the speed of sound. If you try to logically pronounce every function word, you'll be too slow. You will never keep up with the natural tempo of a conversation.
But if you trust the rhythm, if you trust that the listener only needs the content words, you can move much faster. You gain an incredible amount of speed when you stop trying to be perfect with the small words.
It's a huge relief, isn't it? You're actually being told by your teachers to speak less clearly on half of the words in a sentence.
It's the only time in your life a teacher will tell you that being a bit messy is the key to success. But it's true. Clarity in English is about the contrast between the clear peaks and the messy valleys.
I want to mention that sentence stress is also how we signal new information in a conversation. Usually, when we introduce a new idea, we stress it.
Right. If I say, I saw a cat, I'll stress the word cat because it's the new information. But if we keep talking about that cat, the next time I mention it, I might stress a different part of the sentence because the cat is now old information.
For example, if you say, was it a black cat? I would say, no, it was a white cat. Now I'm stressing white because that's the new contrasting information. The word cat is now secondary.
This is how we keep the listener's attention. We are constantly updating them on what is important right now.
If you don't use sentence stress, you're giving the listener a map with no landmarks. They don't know where to look. They don't know what matters.
So, for our listeners who are ready to start this physical shift, how do they begin?
The first step is awareness. You have to start hearing the music before you can play it. This week, when you are listening to English, whether it's a movie, a news report, or our Chatcast, I want you to stop listening for the words and start listening for the hits.
Like listening to the beat of a song. Don't worry about the lyrics, just feel the rhythm.
Exactly. Try to identify the content words just by the sound. Listen for the length, the pitch, and the volume. You'll notice very quickly that native speakers are incredibly consistent with this rhythm.
And once you start hearing it, you can start mimicking it. This leads us to our favorite practice technique from Module 1, which we're going to use even more in this module, shadowing.
But in Module 2, we're doing rhythmic shadowing. We aren't just repeating the words, we're repeating the peaks and valleys. We're trying to match the physical energy of the speaker.
You're trying to become a rhythmic mirror.
This is how you build the muscle memory. Your mouth and your diaphragm need to learn the new dance of English. It's not something you can learn by reading a book. It's something you have to do with your body.
I think it's also helpful to realize that sentence stress is what gives English its characteristic galloping sound. It's often compared to the sound of a horse running. Da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum.
That's the rhythm of an iambic meter, which is very common in English poetry and Shakespeare. But even in casual speech, we have that forward-leaning momentum.
When you master sentence stress, you stop pushing the language and you start riding it. You let the rhythm carry you forward.
It's much less work. Once you get into the flow, speaking English becomes physically easier. You aren't fighting the language anymore. You're dancing with it.
We've covered a lot of ground today for our first episode of the module. We've introduced the concept of stress-timed rhythm, content versus function words, and the physical components of stress.
You've moved from the mental shift to the physical shift. You're starting to master the music.
Which brings us to your mission for Episode 1 of Module 2.
Your mission this week is to become a rhythm detective. I want you to take one single sentence in English. It can be a simple one, like, I'm going to the supermarket to buy some milk.
First, I want you to identify the content words. Which words are the stars of the show?
Then I want you to practice that sentence 5 different times, moving the stress to a different word each time, just like I did with the money sentence.
Notice how the meaning changes. Notice how it feels in your body when you hit a word harder. Notice which words you have to squeeze to keep the rhythm.
Once you've done that, come down to the comments section and tell us which word you stressed and how it changed the vibe of the sentence. We want to see how you are playing with the music of the language.
I can't wait to see your examples. Playing with stress is one of the most fun parts of learning English because it's where your personality really starts to come through.
It really is. You're no longer just repeating sounds, you're expressing intent.
This concludes Episode 1 of Module 2. You've taken your first step into the rhythm of fluency.
In the next episode, Episode 2, we're going to talk about the single most important sound in the English language. It's a sound that almost every learner ignores, but it's the sound that makes all of this rhythm possible.
We're talking about the schwa. It's the secret sound of the valleys. You won't want to miss it.
It's the key that unlocks everything else in this module. But for now, get out there and start hitting those peaks.
We're so proud of you for making it this far. The physical shift is where the real magic happens.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Anna.
If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us keep the music playing for everyone. Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, learning English with us is
A piece of cake. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time on the English Chatcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the studio. You are tuning in to Episode 2 of Module 2 of the Blueprint for Effortless English. I am your co-host, Ben.
And I am Anna. Welcome back, everyone. We are so thrilled to have you here today. The energy from the start of Module 2 has been absolutely incredible, and we are ready to keep that momentum going.
We really are. In our last episode, we kicked off the rhythm of fluency by talking about sentence stress. We learned that English is not a flat, robotic language where every word gets the same amount of time. We learned about the peaks and the valleys.
We talked about how you have to hit the content words hard, make them longer, louder, and higher in pitch. Those are your peaks. And we talked about squeezing the function words down so they become the valleys.
But we left you with a bit of a mystery at the end of that episode. We told you to squeeze those function words down, but we didn't exactly tell you how to pronounce them when they are squeezed.
That is exactly what we are going to uncover today. Today, we are talking about the absolute most important sound in the entire English language. It is a sound that accounts for about 1/3 of all vowel sounds spoken by native speakers, yet most traditional textbooks barely even mention it.
Today, we are unlocking the Schwa secret.
Before we dive into the deep end of the schwa, we want to ask our listeners for a quick favor. If you are enjoying this 50-episode journey and you are ready to master the music of English, please hit that like button and subscribe to the English Chatcast channel.
Liking and subscribing is the absolute best way to support us. It helps the algorithm share this course with other English learners who are stuck on the intermediate plateau and need a way out. We want to bring this blueprint to as many people as possible.
Thank you all so much for your support. Now, Ben, let us get right into it. What in the world is a schwa? It sounds like a strange word.
It does sound strange. The word schwa actually comes from Hebrew, but in English linguistics, it refers to a very specific, very lazy vowel sound. If you want to know what the schwa sounds like, I want you to imagine that you are sitting on your couch after a long, exhausting day. You are completely relaxed, your jaw is loose, and someone asks you a question that you do not know the answer to. What sound do you make?
You just sort of drop your jaw and say,
Exactly. That is the schwa. It is the sound of total physical relaxation.
Let us break down the physical mechanics of that sound because it is crucial for our listeners to feel it in their bodies. Remember, Module 2 is the physical shift. We are moving out of the brain and into the mouth.
To make a perfect schwa, your mouth needs to be doing almost nothing. Your jaw should be slightly open, just relaxed and dropped a tiny bit. Your lips should not be rounded like an O, and they should not be pulled back in a smile like an E. They are just neutral.
And what about the tongue?
The tongue is entirely relaxed right in the middle of your mouth. It is not touching the roof of your mouth. It is not pushed forward against your teeth. And it is not pulled back toward your throat. It is just lying there completely flat and lazy. And then you just gently push a tiny bit of air out of your vocal cords.
It really is the laziest sound a human being can make. I sometimes tell my students to think of it as the zombie sound. If a zombie was walking around trying to speak, it would just make schwa sounds.
That is a brilliant visualization. Now, why is this lazy zombie sound the most important sound in the English language? It all goes back to the rhythm we discussed in episode 1. English is a stress-timed language. We have to rush through the unimportant syllables to get to the important ones on the beat.
And you cannot rush through a syllable if your mouth is doing linguistic gymnastics. If you try to pronounce a perfect clear A or a perfect round O on a syllable that is supposed to be fast and unstressed, your mouth simply cannot move quickly enough. You will ruin the rhythm.
So the English language evolved a brilliant shortcut. Instead of pronouncing the full vowel in an unstressed syllable, we just replace it with the schwa. We replace the complicated mouth movement with the laziest mouth movement possible.
This is the secret to English flow. The schwa is the valley. When we talked about stepping up on the peaks and sliding down into the valleys, the sound you are sliding into is almost always a schwa.
Let us look at how this plays out with actual words. This is where the spelling illusion comes in, which is a major trap for English learners. In your native language, if you see the letter A, you probably pronounce it as an A sound every single time. If you see an O, you pronounce an O.
But in English, you absolutely cannot trust your eyes. English spelling is notoriously terrible. Any vowel letter in the English alphabet, A, E, I, O, or U, can be pronounced as a schwa if it is in an unstressed syllable.
Let us give some examples of this, because it blows people's minds the first time they realize it. Let us look at the letter A. Think about the word about. How does a native speaker actually say that word?
We do not say about, we say about. The stress is on the second syllable, bout. Because the first syllable is unstressed, that letter A turns into a lazy schwa, about.
Exactly. Now let us look at the letter E. Think about the word problem. A traditional student might try to pronounce that second syllable clearly. They might say prob-lem, but the stress is on the first syllable, prob-lem, so that letter E becomes a schwa, prob-lem.
What about the letter I? Take the word family. We do not say fam-e-ly, we stress the first syllable, fam. The middle syllable with the letter I gets reduced to a schwa, or sometimes it disappears entirely, family.
How about the letter O? This is a huge one. Think about the word control. We do not say control with a round O sound at the beginning. The stress is on the second syllable, so the first O becomes a schwa. Control.
And finally, the letter U. Think of the word support. We do not say support, we say support. The U becomes a lazy sound.
So you see, A, E, I, O, and U can all make the exact same lazy sound depending on where the stress falls in the word. This is why you must stop relying on your eyes and start relying on your ears. The spelling is lying to you. The rhythm is telling you the truth.
I have a fantastic example to illustrate this shifting stress. Let us look at a word family. Ben, say the word for a picture you take with a camera.
Photograph.
Perfect. Where is the stress?
The stress is on the first syllable, photograph. So the first O is a clear, strong O sound. The other two syllables are unstressed, so they both get reduced to a schwa. Photograph.
Right. Photographer. Now, let us change the word to the person who takes the picture. Ben, how do you say that?
Photographer.
Listen how the rhythm completely changed. The stress moved. It is no longer on the first syllable. It is on the second syllable. Photographer.
This is where the magic happens. Because the stress moved to the second syllable, that second O suddenly wakes up. It becomes a strong, clear vowel, tog. But look what happens to the first O. It lost its stress, so it goes to sleep. It turns into a schwa. Photographer.
And let us do one more in that family. What is the adjective form, like when someone has a perfect memory?
Photographic.
The stress moved again. Now it is on the third syllable. Photographic. The A in graph is now the peak.
This word family, photograph, photographer, photographic, is the ultimate proof that you cannot memorize English pronunciation by looking at the letters. You have to know where the stress is. Once you know where the peak is, every other vowel turns into a valley. Every other vowel becomes a schwa.
When I explain this to my private students, they often get a little bit angry. They feel like they have been tricked by their textbooks for years. They spent so much time trying to clearly pronounce every single vowel they read.
It is exhausting to speak like that. If you try to say photographer, your mouth has to do so much extra work. You will run out of breath, your speech will sound robotic, and you will never be able to keep up with the natural pace of a native speaker.
Embracing the schwa is embracing efficiency. You are literally saving physical energy. You are allowing your mouth to rest on the unstressed syllables so that you have enough breath to hit the stressed syllables hard.
That is such a great point. The schwa is your resting state. It is the default position of your mouth.
Now, we just talked about how the schwa works inside of individual words, but the schwa is even more powerful when we look at whole sentences, particularly when it comes to function words.
Yes, the function words. We talked about these in the last episode. The prepositions, the articles, the auxiliary verbs. These are the words that do not carry the main meaning of the sentence.
In natural conversational English, these function words almost never get their full dictionary pronunciation. They're almost always reduced to a schwa.
Let us look at the word to. In a dictionary, it sounds like the number 2. But in a real sentence, it almost never sounds like that. If I say, I am going to the store, I do not say to, I say ta. I'm going to the store.
And the word the also reduces. We do not say the store, we say the. I'm going to the store. Two schwas right next to each other.
Let us look at the word for. In isolation, it rhymes with door. But in a sentence, the O disappears into a schwa. This gift is for you. This gift is for you.
Think about the word and. We rarely pronounce the A and the D. A bowl of macaroni and cheese becomes macaron and cheese. Fish and chips becomes fish and chips.
The word can is a very important one because it causes a lot of confusion for learners. If you want to say that you have the ability to do something, traditional English classes teach you to say, I can do it, with a big, wide A sound.
But native speakers do not do that because can is an auxiliary verb. It is a function word. It is not the main verb. The main verb is do, so do gets the stress, and can gets reduced to a schwa. It sounds like can. I can do it.
I can do it. It happens so fast. This is actually how native speakers distinguish between positive and negative abilities. Because if you want to say the negative form, you have to use the word can't, and can't is always stressed.
This is a huge revelation for a lot of learners. If you try to say, I can do it, and I can't do it, the listener is going to be very confused because the vowel sounds are too similar.
Right, but if you use the rhythm of fluency, the positive form uses a short, quiet schwa, I can do it, and the negative form uses a strong, wide vowel, I can't do it. The difference is night and day. One is a valley, the other is a peak.
So if you want people to understand you, you actually need to pronounce the word can poorly. You need to be lazy with it.
You have to be lazy to be fluent. It sounds like a joke, but it is a linguistic fact.
Let us talk a bit more about that laziness, because it really is a physical shift. For a lot of our listeners who speak languages with very crisp, clear vowels, making the schwa sound actually feels wrong. It feels sloppy.
It feels like bad manners. I have had clients tell me that they feel like they are mumbling when I make them use the schwa.
They are mumbling. That is the point. English is half clear articulation and half mumbling. The content words are articulated beautifully. The function words are mumbled.
If you refuse to mumble the function words because you think it sounds uneducated or sloppy, you will never achieve effortless fluency. You will always sound foreign. Native speakers do not view the schwa as sloppy. They view it as natural.
To train this physical laziness, you have to practice relaxing your mouth. Let us do a physical exercise right now. I want you to clench your jaw tight. Feel the tension in your face.
Now completely let it go. Let your mouth fall open slightly. Relax your tongue. Take a breath and just let a sound fall out of your mouth. Ah.
Ah. Do it again. Ah. That is your home base. Whenever you are navigating the valleys between your important words, your mouth needs to return to that home base.
A cup of tea.
Okay, the content words are cup and tea. Those are the peaks. The function words are a and of. Those are the valleys.
A cup of tea.
Now let us apply the schwa. The A becomes a tiny The OF becomes an of. Listen to the rhythm. A cup of tea.
C-U-P, T-E-A. The peaks are clear, the valleys are lazy.
Let us do a longer one. What are you going to do today?
If we break that down, what, going, and today are the important words. Are, you, and to are function words.
So let us schwa the function words. Are you becomes urya. To becomes t.
What are you going to do today?
It flows like water. There is no friction. Because you removed all the complicated vowel shapes from the unimportant words, your mouth can just glide right over them.
This is why native speakers seem to speak so fast. They are not actually moving their mouths faster than you are. They're just moving their mouths less. They are skipping the unnecessary movements by using the schwa.
That is profound, Ben. They are moving their mouths less. When a learner tries to speak fast, they try to do all the complicated mouth movements at double speed, and they end up tripping over their own tongue.
But true speed comes from efficiency. The schwa is the ultimate efficiency tool.
I want to address something that might be worrying some of our listeners right now. They might be thinking, Anna and Ben, this is great, but how am I supposed to memorize which words get a schwa and which words do not? There are thousands of words in the dictionary.
That is a very fair question, and the answer ties directly back to Module 1. You do not memorize them logically. You do not pull out a dictionary and highlight all the unstressed syllables.
You build the rhythm into your mental bridges. When you learn a new phrasal block, you learn it with the rhythm already attached. You learn the music at the same time you learn the lyrics.
When you learn the phrase, as far as I know, you do not learn 5 separate words. You learn one continuous piece of music. As far as I know, the schwas are naturally built into the melody of the block.
And the best way to absorb that melody is through the mimicking and shadowing exercises we have been talking about. When you shadow a native speaker, do not just copy their words, copy their laziness. Notice where they drop their pitch and mumble, and you do exactly the same thing.
Over time, your brain and your mouth will naturally start assigning the schwa to the unstressed syllables without you ever having to think about it. It becomes instinctual.
It is like learning to ride a bicycle. At first, you have to think about balance and pedaling and steering all at once. It feels impossible. But eventually, your body just figures out the physics, and you pedal without thinking.
The schwa is the balance of the English language. Once your mouth figures out how to rest in those valleys, you will be riding the rhythm effortlessly.
Let us review the key takeaways from today's masterclass on the schwa.
The schwa is the most common vowel sound in English. It sounds like a lazy
Number 2. The schwa only appears in unstressed syllables and in function words. It is the sound of the valleys.
Number 3. You cannot trust English spelling. Any vowel letter can become a schwa if it loses its stress.
And number 4, you must learn to be physically lazy on the unimportant words in order to be fluent and fast. Mumbling the function words is not bad English, it is correct English.
We are completely destroying the old classroom rules in this module, and it is so incredibly liberating.
It really is. It takes so much pressure off the learner when they realize they only have to be clear on half of the words they say.
Which brings us to the mission for Episode 2. We want you to start actively hunting for the schwa in the real world.
Your homework for this week is to become a schwa detective. We want you to listen to a native English speaker for just 5 minutes. It could be a YouTube video, a podcast, or even a news broadcast.
While you are listening, I want you to pay attention to the small words, the to, the for, the can, the and. I want you to actively listen to how the speaker destroys the vowels in those words and replaces them with a lazy
Once you hear it, it is like a magic trick being revealed. You will never be able to unhear it. The schwa is everywhere.
After you do your listening exercise, we want you to come down into the comments section of this episode. Tell us one word or phrase where you clearly heard a native speaker use a schwa instead of a full vowel.
Write the phrase down and maybe spell it phonetically the way you actually heard it. For example, write down a cup of tea and then write a cup of tea next to it.
We want to fill the comments section with proof that the spelling illusion is real and that the schwa is the true king of English pronunciation.
We will be down there reading your examples and celebrating your new rhythmic awareness. This is such a huge breakthrough moment for so many students.
It absolutely is. You are now officially initiated into the schwa secret. You possess the key to English rhythm.
In our next episode, Episode 3, we are going to take this rhythm even further. We are going to talk about connected speech, also known as liaison.
We are going to show you how native speakers take these words with all their peaks and valleys and actually glue them together so that 3 words sound like one single long word.
It builds perfectly on the lazy schwa concepts we learned today. It is going to be a fantastic discussion about flow and fluidity.
You definitely won't want to miss it. But for today, just focus on relaxing your jaw. Find your home base. Embrace the laziness.
We are so proud of the work you are doing. The physical shift requires patience, but you are rewiring your mouth for permanent success.
I am Ben.
And I am Anna. If you enjoyed learning the secret of the schwa today, please remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We love building this fluency blueprint with all of you. Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, learning English with us is
A piece of cake. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time on the English Chatcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the studio. You are tuning in to Episode 3 of Module 2 of the Blueprint for Effortless English. I am your co-host, Ben.
And I am Anna. Welcome back, everyone. We are so excited to continue our journey through the second module today. We are really getting into the groove now.
We absolutely are. We are currently in Module 2, which we call the Rhythm of Fluency, or Mastering the Music. If you've been following along with our 50-episode journey, you know that we spent the entire first module fixing the internal architecture of your mind. Now we are training the physical muscles of your mouth.
In Episode 1 of this module, we covered sentence stress. We learned that English is a stress-timed language full of bright peaks and lazy valleys. Then, in Episode 2, we revealed the secret of the valleys, the most important sound in the English language, the schwa.
Today, we are taking those peaks and valleys, and we are going to learn how to stitch them all together. Today is all about connected speech, which is also known in linguistics as liaison.
Before we dive deeply into the mechanics of connected speech, we want to ask a quick favor. If you are finding value in this course and you are enjoying the physical shift we are making in this module, please hit the like button and subscribe to the English Chatcast channel.
Your support is the engine that keeps this podcast running. It helps us reach thousands of other English learners who are struggling with their rhythm and fluency. So thank you for being a part of this growing community.
Now, Ben, when we talk about connected speech, we are really talking about the greatest illusion in the English language, and that illusion is the space bar on your computer keyboard.
That is the perfect way to introduce this. When we learn to read and write, we are trained to see language as a series of isolated boxes.
You write a word, you hit the space bar, you leave an empty gap, and then you write the next word.
Because of that visual training, English learners naturally assume that spoken language works exactly the same way. They assume that when native speakers talk, we are putting tiny, invisible pauses between every single word.
But that is a complete myth. In natural conversational English, there are absolutely no spaces between words within a single thought group. When I speak a sentence, my vocal cords do not stop vibrating from the first syllable to the very last syllable. The words flow into each other continuously, like water flowing down a river.
This is why native speakers are so difficult to understand for beginners. A student will learn a vocabulary word in isolation, perfectly pronounced with clean edges. But then they go to a coffee shop and the barista says a sentence where 5 words are smashed together into one giant continuous sound. The student freezes because their brain is listening for spaces that simply do not exist.
We call this the robot versus the river. The robot speaks word by word by word. The river flows continuously. Our goal today is to turn you from a robot into a river.
To do that, we have to understand the 4 main rules of connected speech. These are the physical shortcuts that native speakers use to glue words together. Once you understand these 4 rules, not only will your speaking become much faster and more fluid, but your listening comprehension will skyrocket.
Let us start with the first and most common rule. This is called consonant-to-vowel linking. It happens when one word ends with a consonant sound and the very next word begins with a vowel sound.
When this happens, we do not stop the airflow. Instead, we take the consonant from the end of the first word and we push it forward so it actually becomes the first sound of the next word.
Let us give a really clear example. Think of the phrase, an apple. The word an ends with an N sound. The word apple begins with an A sound. If you are a robot, you say, an, pause, apple.
But a river does not pause. A native speaker takes the N and pushes it onto the apple. So it actually sounds like you are saying a napple. A napple.
Stop it. Stop ends with a P. It begins with an it. Push the P forward, it becomes stop it. Stop it.
This changes the entire physical sensation of speaking. Try saying the phrase, hold on. If you separate them, you feel a stop in your throat. Hold on. But if you connect them, the D moves over to the O. Hold on. Hold on. It feels completely smooth.
Think about how much energy that saves you. You do not have to turn your voice off and turn it back on again. You just keep the engine running.
Exactly. Let us practice a full sentence using just this one rule. Let us look at the sentence, "It is a lot of work."
Wow, that sentence is a perfect playground for connected speech. Let us break it down. It ends with a T, is begins with an I. Push it forward. It-tis.
Is ends with a Z sound. Begins with a vowel. Push it forward, is-a. So now we have it-tis-a.
Lot of.
So the whole first chunk sounds like it-tis-a lo-tuv work.
Say that with me, everyone listening at home. Do not look at the spelling. Just listen to the music. It-tis-a lo-tuv work.
When you say it like that, it does not even sound like English anymore. It sounds like a completely different language, and that is exactly what you should be aiming for. You are speaking the language of rhythm.
That is the first rule, consonant to vowel. The second rule is a little bit more magical. This is called vowel to vowel linking. This happens when one word ends in a vowel and the next word also begins with a vowel.
This is a tricky situation for the mouth. If you try to say two vowels right next to each other, you naturally have to pause. Try saying the phrase go away. Go away. To make both vowels clear, you have to stop the air in your throat for a split second.
And as we know, the river never stops. The river hates pauses. So to avoid pausing, native speakers actually invent a brand new sound and drop it right in the middle of the two words to build a bridge.
We call this an intrusive sound. Depending on the shape of your mouth, you will naturally add either a W sound or a Y sound between the vowels.
Let us look at the W sound first. This happens when your lips are rounded at the end of the first word. Say the word go. Notice how your lips form a tight circle at the end. Go.
Now try to transition directly into the word away without stopping your voice. Because your lips are rounded, as they open up, they naturally create a W sound. Go away.
Listen closely to that. Go away. I am literally putting a W in the middle of the phrase. I am not thinking about doing it. My mouth just does it physically to avoid the pause.
Let us try another one. Do it. The word do ends with rounded lips. The word it begins with a vowel. Connect them. Do it. Do it.
Who is? Who is? You are. You were. It happens every single time. If your lips are round, you get a W bridge.
Now let us look at the other bridge, the Y sound. This happens when your lips are pulled wide at the end of the first word, like a smile. Say the word see. Your lips are stretched wide.
Now connect it to the word it. As your mouth moves from the wide E position to the relaxed I position, it naturally creates a Y sound. See it. See it.
I am. I am. Say it. Say it. He is. He is.
I absolutely love teaching this concept because students always look so shocked. They have been listening to native speakers for years, and they never realized we were secretly inserting extra letters into our sentences.
But that is the beauty of the physical shift. We are not doing it to confuse you. We are doing it because the human mouth prefers continuous motion over stopping and starting.
So, we have covered consonant-to-vowel linking and vowel-to-vowel linking. Our third rule of connected speech is where things start to disappear. This is called elision, or dropped sounds.
This rule comes into play when two consonant sounds crash into each other. Sometimes it is just physically too difficult to pronounce two heavy consonants in a row without slowing down the rhythm, so we just delete one of them.
The most common victims of elision are the T and D sounds, especially when they are sandwiched between two other consonants.
Let us look at a very common phrase, next door. The word next ends with a T. The word door begins with a D. Next door. Try saying both of those sounds clearly and quickly. It is very clunky.
Your tongue has to do a lot of heavy lifting. So to keep the river flowing, we just drop the T completely. We pretend it does not exist. We say, next door. Next door.
Think about the phrase diamond ring. The word diamond ends with a D. Ring starts with an R. That is a tough transition, so we delete the D. Diamond ring.
Let us look at the phrase must be. It must be true. We drop the T. It must be true.
Or the phrase mostly. I am mostly happy. Drop the T. I am mostly happy.
This rule is incredibly important for your listening comprehension. Many students will hear a phrase like next door, and they will go crazy looking for the word next in the dictionary. They do not realize the T was just a casualty of speed.
And you have to give yourself permission to drop these sounds too. A lot of perfectionist learners feel guilty when they do not pronounce every letter. But remember the good enough rule from Module 1. Perfectionism destroys flow. Dropping that T is not a mistake. It is a sign of advanced fluency.
It shows that you have mastered the music. You understand that the rhythm of the whole sentence is far more important than the individual sound of one single letter.
Which brings us to our fourth and final rule of connected speech. We have pushed sounds forward, we have invented new sounds, and we have deleted sounds. Now we are going to combine sounds. This is called assimilation.
Assimilation happens when two sounds crash into each other and they merge together to create a completely new third sound.
The most famous examples of this happen with the letter Y, specifically when it crashes into a T or a D.
Let us start with T plus Y. When a word ending in a T is followed immediately by a word starting with a Y, those two sounds blend together and create a CH sound, like the CH in cheese.
Meet you. Nice to meet you. If you are speaking very slowly and carefully, you might separate them. Nice to meet you. But in natural conversation, the T and the Y collide. Nice to meet you.
Meet you. It sounds like a sneeze, but it is standard English. How about the phrase, don't you? Don't you? Why don't you come over later?
What about won't you? Won't you? Won't you help me with this?
This happens everywhere. Now let us look at D plus Y. When a word ending in a D crashes into a word starting with a Y, they merge to create a J sound, like the J in jump.
This happens constantly with the word did. Did you? Did you do your homework? We do not say did you. The D and the Y combine. Did you? Did you do your homework?
Would you? Would ya? Would you like some coffee?
Had you seen that movie before?
Did you? Would you? Had you? It almost sounds like a different dialect, but this is standard broadcast quality American and British English. This is how the language operates at speed.
So let us review our 4 rules. First, we push consonants forward into vowels. Stop it. Second, we build invisible W and Y bridges between vowels. Go away. Third, we delete heavy consonants like T and D when they get in the way. Next door. And fourth, we blend T and D into Y to make CH and J sounds. Meet you and did you.
That is a lot of physical mechanics to absorb. But the amazing thing is, you do not actually have to memorize these rules logically. Your mouth will naturally start doing these things if you just focus on continuous airflow.
That is the real secret here. Connected speech is not a set of grammar rules that you have to study. It is a physical consequence of keeping your vocal cords vibrating without stopping.
I am going to give you a sentence. I want you to take a deep breath, and I want you to say the entire sentence on one single exhale. Do not let your voice stop for even a microsecond.
Let us do it. Give me a good sentence.
He asked me to go away and think about it.
Okay, I am going to take a breath and push the air continuously. He asked me to go away and think about it.
Did you hear what happened there? Anna did not stop to think about the rules. She just kept the air flowing. Because she kept the air flowing, the W sound naturally appeared between go and away. The Y sound naturally appeared between away and and. The K in think automatically jumped onto about, and the T in about automatically jumped onto it.
All of the connected speech rules happened automatically just because I refused to stop the river.
Continuous airflow is the master key to connected speech. If you stop the air, you break the connection. If you break the connection, you lose the rhythm.
This is why the shadowing exercises we talk about are so crucial. When you are shadowing a native speaker, you are not just trying to get the pronunciation right. You are trying to match their breath. You are trying to figure out how they link 10 words together on a single breath of air.
Connected speech is also deeply tied to the schwa that we learned about in the last episode. Because we are linking all these words together, the function words in the middle get completely crushed. They lose their stress, they lose their shape, and they become a lazy sound.
As a matter of fact.
Oh, that is a great one. It is a very common phrasal block. A beginner will say, as a matter of fact. 5 separate words, 5 full vowel sounds.
But let us apply the rules. We push the S from as onto the a. The a becomes a schwa, a z.
Matter of.
And then fact is our final content word, so we hit it hard.
So let us put it all together. As a matter of fact.
Listen to the music of that z, m, d, ru fact. It is one continuous slide leading up to a single peak. There are no spaces. There are no breaks.
This is what it means to master the music. You are no longer reading individual words on a page. You are riding the wave of the sentence.
We really want to encourage our listeners to be brave with this. For a lot of people, speaking this way feels very strange at first. It feels like you are slurring your words. It feels like you are being impolite.
But you have to trust the process. You have to push past that feeling of discomfort. When you use connected speech, native speakers will actually understand you much better because you are finally speaking in the rhythm that their brains are wired to hear.
If you speak too perfectly, if you put spaces between all your words, native speakers actually get distracted. They start focusing on how strange your rhythm is, instead of focusing on your message.
Connected speech is the camouflage that makes you sound natural. It helps you blend into the conversation.
I think it is also important to mention that connected speech is not slang. Sometimes students think that saying "did you" instead of "did you" is only for casual street talk.
That is a huge misconception. The President of the United States uses connected speech during a formal address to the nation. A CEO uses connected speech in a boardroom presentation. News anchors use it. It is just the standard physics of spoken English. It is not slang, it is biology.
Your mouth simply cannot move fast enough to preserve every single boundary between words, and you shouldn't try.
Let us talk about our mission for Episode 3. We want you to start actively practicing the river. We want you to destroy the spaces between your words.
Your homework for this week is to choose a short paragraph of English text. It can be a news article, a page from a book, or even the transcript of this Chatcast.
I want you to take a pencil, and I want you to draw linking lines between the words where you think connected speech should happen. Look for words that end in a consonant and start with a vowel,
Draw a line. Look for two vowels next to each other. Draw a little W or Y above the gap.
Look for heavy consonants crashing into each other. Cross out the T or the D with your pencil. You are literally drawing a map of the river.
Once you have marked up your paragraph, you want to read it out loud, but here is the challenge. You are not allowed to stop your voice until you reach a comma or a period. You have to push all the words together on one continuous breath.
It is going to feel very weird the first time you do it. You might run out of breath, you might stumble over your tongue. That is perfectly fine. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to feel the continuous vibration in your throat.
Do this exercise every day this week. Read your marked up paragraph 3 or 4 times in a row. Force your mouth to get comfortable with the sliding and the blending.
Once you have done this exercise, we want you to come down into the comments section. We want you to type out one phrase where you found a really cool example of connected speech.
Normally, and then type it out exactly how it actually sounds when you smash it all together. Show us your me too and your stow pit and your next door examples.
We love seeing the community decode the language like this. When you start seeing these patterns, the entire English language suddenly seems so much less intimidating.
It is not a random collection of impossible sounds. It is a highly predictable, incredibly efficient musical system, and you are learning how to play it.
You are doing phenomenal work. You have conquered sentence stress, you have embraced the lazy schwa, and now you are mastering the art of connected speech.
You are well on your way to true effortless fluency. The physical shift is happening right now.
In our next episode, episode 4, we are going to take a slightly different direction. We are going to look at how we use the melody of our voice to show our true emotions. We are going to talk about intonation for intent.
That is gonna be a brilliant discussion. It is all about how you use pitch to sound polite or assertive or curious without changing the words you are using. It adds a whole new dimension of color to your English.
You will definitely want to tune in for that one. But for today, just keep the river flowing. Delete the space bar from your brain. Let the words crash into each other.
We are so proud of the progress you are making. Keep pushing, keep practicing, and trust the music.
I am Anna.
And I am Ben.
If you found today's episode helpful, please remember to like and subscribe. We appreciate every single one of you. Feel free to leave your connected speech examples in the comments below. Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, learning English with us is
A piece of cake. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time on the English Chatcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the studio. You are tuning in to episode 4 of Module 2 of the Blueprint for Effortless English. I am your co-host, Ben.
And I am Anna. Welcome back, everyone. We are so incredibly happy to be here with you today as we continue exploring the physical mechanics of spoken English.
We are moving right along through Module 2, which we call the Rhythm of Fluency. Over the past 3 episodes, we have really focused on the engine of the English language. We talked about sentence stress and hitting the content words. We talked about the lazy schwa sound in the vowels. And in our last episode, we talked about connected speech and how to link all those words together like a flowing river.
But today, we are adding the color. We are adding the emotion. If sentence stress is the beat of the drum, today's topic is the melody of the violin. Today, we are talking about intonation for intent.
Before we dive into the melody of English, we would love to ask our listeners for a quick favor. If you are enjoying this module and finding these physical shifts helpful for your fluency, please hit the like button and subscribe to the English Chatcast channel.
Your support is what allows us to keep producing this 50-episode course. It helps us reach more learners who are struggling to sound natural, and we are so grateful to have you in our community.
Now, Anna, let us define our terms. What exactly do we mean when we use the word intonation?
Intonation is the rise and fall of your pitch when you speak. It is the music. It is how high or how low your voice goes. And the most important thing to understand is that in English, pitch is not random. It is highly intentional.
Right. In some languages, like Mandarin or Thai, pitch changes the actual dictionary definition of a word. If you use a high pitch, it means one thing. If you use a low pitch, it means a completely different object. But English is not a tonal language in that way.
In English, the dictionary definition of the word stays the same regardless of your pitch. The word apple is always a fruit, whether you say it with a high voice or a low voice. But the pitch changes the intent of the word. It changes the emotion, the grammar, and the social meaning behind the word.
It is not about what you say. It is about how you feel about what you say. And that is why so many English learners struggle to connect with native speakers. They might have perfect grammar and perfect vocabulary, but if their intonation is flat, they sound emotionally dead.
Or worse, they use the wrong intonation and accidentally sound angry or rude or totally unsure of themselves when they are actually trying to be polite. Your intonation is your conversational body language. If you get it wrong, you are sending the wrong signals.
So let us break this down into the core melodies of English. There are a few standard patterns that every English user needs to master. The first and most fundamental pattern is falling intonation.
Falling intonation means that at the very end of your sentence, the pitch of your voice drops down. It gets lower. We use this primarily for two things: statements of fact and commands.
Let us look at a simple statement. I am going to the store. Listen to the very last word, store. My voice starts a little higher on that word, and then it slides down. I am going to the store.
That downward slide signals finality. It tells the listener, I am finished speaking, I am certain of what I just said, and the thought is complete.
Think about a command, sit down. The pitch drops on down. It is authoritative. If a police officer tells you to stop your car, they use falling intonation. Stop the car. They do not use a high, bouncy pitch.
Falling intonation is the sound of confidence. And this brings us to a massive problem that plagues a lot of English learners and even some native speakers. It is a habit called uptalk.
Oh, uptalk. This is a crucial topic, especially for our listeners who use English in the workplace.
Uptalk is when you accidentally use rising intonation at the end of a statement. Instead of your voice going down, it goes up. So instead of saying, my name is Anna, you say, my name is Anna?
When you push your pitch up at the end of a sentence like that, you are turning a statement of fact into a question. You are signaling to the listener that you are not sure.
Exactly. I have had private clients who are brilliant professionals, doctors and engineers. They go into a boardroom to give a presentation and they say, our sales are up 20% this quarter. We need to invest in new software.
And because their voice goes up at the end of every sentence, the boss listening to them thinks, why are you asking me? You are the expert. You should be telling me. Uptalk completely destroys your professional credibility.
It makes you sound weak and unconfident. So if you are making a statement, you must consciously push your voice down at the end. You have to land the airplane. Do not leave it floating in the sky. Hit the runway. Our sales are up 20%. Boom. Finality.
That is such a great visual. Land the airplane. Now, there is a time when we absolutely want the airplane to fly up into the sky, and that is when we are using the second major pattern, rising intonation.
We use rising intonation when we are asking a very specific type of question. These are questions where the only possible answer is yes or no.
For example, are you hungry? Listen to the end of that sentence. Hungry? The pitch slides up. Are you hungry?
Do you like coffee? Is it raining outside? Have you finished the report? In all of those examples, the very last syllable lifts up.
Why do we do that? We do it because rising intonation is a social invitation. When your voice goes up and stays up, it leaves the conversational door open. It signals to the other person that it is their turn to speak. You are handing the microphone over to them.
That is exactly right. If you ask a yes or no question with falling intonation, it sounds like an interrogation. If I look at you with a flat, falling pitch and say, "Did you eat my sandwich?" it does not sound like a friendly question. It sounds like an accusation. I am demanding an answer.
So if you want to sound friendly and inviting, your yes or no questions must rise at the end. Are you ready to go?
But here is the tricky part that confuses a lot of students. Not all questions use rising intonation. This is where we go back to falling intonation.
Right. We use falling intonation for what we call WH questions. These are questions that start with who, what, where, when, why, or how.
With these questions, you are not asking for a yes or no. You are asking for specific information. And because you are asking for facts, the intonation pattern mimics a statement of fact. It falls.
Think about it. What is your name? Where do you live? Why are you late?
If you use rising intonation on a what question, it sounds incredibly strange. If you say, "What is your name?" with a high rising pitch, you sound like you are incredibly shocked or like you did not hear them the first time and you need them to repeat it.
That is a great point. Rising intonation on a what question implies surprise or disbelief. If you tell me you bought a new car and I say, "What did you buy?" with a rising pitch, it means I am shocked. But if I just want the information, I say, "What did you buy?" with a falling pitch.
So just to summarize those first two rules, because they are the foundation, statements, commands, and WH questions go down. Yes or not questions go up.
If you just master those two directions, your spoken English will instantly sound 50% more natural. But we are not going to stop there, because human emotion is not just up or down, it is complex.
Which brings us to the third pattern, and honestly, the most difficult one for learners to master. We call it fall-rise intonation.
This is where the music gets really interesting. Fall-rise intonation is a scoop. Your voice goes down and then immediately scoops back up on the exact same word. It sounds a bit like a wave.
We use this pattern to express uncertainty, polite doubt, or to imply that there is more information we are not saying. It is the sound of hesitation.
Let us give a concrete example. Imagine we are at a restaurant, and I ask you, Anna, do you like the soup?
It is delicious.
Listen to the word good in that example. It goes down and then scoops back up. Good.
When a native speaker hears that scoop, that fall rise, their brain instantly translates the hidden meaning. The hidden meaning is, it is good, but it is not great. or "It is good, but I would not order it again." I did not say those negative words, but my intonation communicated them perfectly.
Fall-rise is the ultimate tool for politeness. English culture, especially British and American culture, values indirectness when it comes to negative opinions. We do not like to give flat, hard rejections.
If I ask you, "Did you finish the project?" and you say, "No," with a hard falling intonation, it sounds aggressive. It sounds like you are angry I even asked.
But if I say no with a fall-rise scoop, it sounds completely different. It sounds apologetic. It means, "No, I am sorry I have not finished it yet, but I am working on it."
One single syllable. No. But the melody changes everything. This is why you cannot learn English just by reading transcripts. You have to listen to the music.
Let us play a game to demonstrate just how powerful intonation really is. Let us take one single word and let us see how many different intentions we can communicate just by changing the pitch. Let us use the word right.
Okay, I love this game.
Right.
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 Right?
Right.
Right. A long, drawn-out fall rise. Right. It is incredibly sarcastic.
Sarcasm is heavily dependent on intonation. If you do not use that elongated, scooping pitch, your sarcasm will just sound like a serious statement, and people will be very confused.
Right.
Right. Very sharp, very fast, with a sharp drop. Right, as in, right, let us get out of here.
4 completely different meanings: agreement, surprise, sarcastic disagreement, and impatience, all from a single word, purely based on the melody.
When our listeners realize they have this power, it changes everything. You do not always need a massive vocabulary to express complex emotions. Sometimes you just need the right pitch.
I want to talk about pitch jumps. This is another area where learners often sound a bit flat. When we get excited in English, or when we want to emphasize a really strong adjective, we do not just get louder, we actually jump our pitch up to a much higher musical note.
This is very true, especially in American English. If I see a beautiful house, I do not just say, "That is a huge house," on a flat tone. I jump my pitch on the word huge. That is a huge house.
The pitch jump tells the listener that this is not just normal information, this is extraordinary information. It conveys enthusiasm. If you say, "I had a wonderful weekend," and you stay on a flat pitch, the native speaker is not going to believe you. They're going to think you actually had a terrible weekend.
Because your melody does not match your vocabulary. If the word is wonderful, the pitch has to jump up. I had a wonderful weekend.
Conversely, when we talk about something very serious or very sad, we drop our pitch below our normal speaking voice. We go into a low register.
It was a terrible accident.
Matching your pitch to your emotional intent is the hallmark of advanced fluency. It shows that you are not just reciting words from memory, but that you are truly feeling the language as you speak it.
How do our listeners actually practice this? Because unlike grammar, there is no simple worksheet you can fill out to practice your pitch.
The best way to practice intonation is through exaggerated mimicry. When you are doing your shadowing exercises, you cannot be shy. Most learners are too embarrassed to make their voices go really high or really low. They stay in a safe, flat middle zone.
You have to break out of that safe zone. If you are alone in your room or in your car, you need to exaggerate the melody. If the native speaker you are listening to uses a high rising intonation for a question, I want you to go even higher. Make it ridiculous.
Yes, stretch your vocal cords. It is like stretching your muscles before a workout. If you exaggerate the pitch in private, it will feel much more natural and appropriately dynamic when you speak to people in public.
You also need to start actively analyzing native speakers. When you watch a movie or an English television show, stop listening to the plot for a few minutes. Just listen to the music. Watch how the actors use pitch to show that they are angry or lying or in love.
Notice how the pitch goes down when a character makes a threat. Notice how it scoops into a fall rise when a character is keeping a secret. The entire emotional subtext of the script is delivered through intonation.
I also highly recommend recording yourself. This is a painful exercise for a lot of people, but it is necessary. Use your phone to record yourself reading a paragraph of English text.
Then, play it back and listen to your own melody. Are you landing the airplane at the ends of your sentences? Are you lifting up on your yes or no questions? Or do you sound like a flat, robotic line?
Usually, you will find that you sound much flatter than you thought you did. You might feel the emotion in your head, but you are not translating it into physical pitch in your vocal cords. Recording yourself forces you to confront that reality.
It is the quickest way to diagnose the problem, and once you hear the flatness, you can consciously choose to inject some energy and movement into your next recording.
Intonation is also deeply connected to sentence stress, which we covered in episode 1. Usually, the biggest pitch jump in a sentence will happen on the primary stressed word.
Exactly. If I say, I didn't buy the red shirt, I bought the blue shirt. The words red and blue are the most important contrasting words, so those are the words where my pitch will jump the highest. I didn't buy the red shirt, I bought the blue shirt.
The stress and the intonation work together. The stress tells you which word is important, and the intonation tells you how I feel about it. They are the two hands playing the piano.
You really are mastering the music now. You are moving from the mechanics of the jaw and the tongue, which we used for the schwa and connected speech, up into the vocal cords. You are becoming a fully expressive English user.
And an expressive English user is a confident English user. When you know that your melody matches your intent, your fear of being misunderstood vanishes. You know that you are sending the exact right social signals.
Which brings us to the mission for episode 4. We want you to start playing the instrument. We want you to experiment with your melody.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly?
Exactly well, I guess that is partially true, but not really.
Practice those 3 melodies. Really feel your voice moving up and down. Feel the difference in your vocal cords.
Once you have practiced, come down into the comments section. Tell us which of the 3 patterns was the hardest for you to physically produce. Was it the sharp fall, the high rise, or the tricky fall-rise scoop?
We love hearing about your physical experiences with the language. It helps us know which areas we need to focus on as we continue building the blueprint.
Intonation takes time to master because you are fighting against the natural melodies of your mother tongue. Every language has its own unique song. You are learning a new song. Be patient with yourself.
But if you keep exaggerating in your practice, the new song will eventually become your natural voice. You will find that you are expressing your true personality in English, not just reciting grammar.
You are doing brilliant work. You have added the color and the emotion to your English toolkit.
In our next episode, episode 5, we are going to talk about the space between the words. We are going to explore the power of the pause.
We just spent time telling you to connect everything and flow like a river, but knowing exactly when to stop the river is the ultimate secret to commanding a room and holding people's attention.
It is going to be an incredibly powerful lesson on pacing and authority. You will not want to miss it.
But for today, focus on your pitch. Land the airplane, scoop your doubts, and jump on your excitement.
I am Ben.
And I am Anna. If you enjoyed learning about the melody of English today, please remember to like and subscribe. We appreciate you being part of this journey. Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, learning English with us is
A piece of cake. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time on the English Chatcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the studio. You are tuning in to episode 5 of Module 2 of the Blueprint for Effortless English. I am your co-host, Ben.
And I am Anna. Welcome back, everyone. We are officially halfway through our second module, and the physical shift we are asking you to make is really starting to take shape.
It absolutely is. This module, the Rhythm of Fluency, has been all about mastering the music of the English language. In the first 4 episodes, we covered a tremendous amount of ground. We learned how to hit the heavy content words with sentence stress. We learned how to relax into the valleys with the lazy schwa sound.
We also learned how to glue everything together with connected speech, turning our words into a flowing river. And in our last episode, we added color and emotion by exploring intonation for intent, learning how to pitch our voices to match our feelings.
But today, we are going to talk about something that might seem like the exact opposite of fluency. Today, we are going to talk about stopping. We are exploring the power of the pause.
Before we dive into the incredible power of silence, we want to ask our listeners for a very quick favor. If you are enjoying this 50-episode journey and finding value in these masterclasses, please hit that like button and subscribe to the English Chatcast channel.
Your support is the absolute best way to ensure we can keep delivering this high-quality content all the way to the end of the course. It helps us build this amazing global community of English users. So thank you for being here with us.
Now, Ben, when I tell my private students that we need to work on pausing, they usually look at me like I am crazy. They think I am actively trying to make their English worse.
I get the exact same reaction. There is a massive, incredibly toxic myth in the language learning community. The myth is that true fluency means speaking as fast as humanly possible without ever stopping to take a breath.
Yes, the speed myth. So many learners equate speed with skill. They watch movies or listen to native speakers, and because the native speakers are using connected speech and schwas, it sounds like one giant, uninterrupted wall of sound.
So the learner tries to copy that. They take a massive breath, open their mouth, and try to sprint through an entire paragraph of text without stopping. And what happens? They run out of air, their pronunciation falls apart, they panic, and their affective filter slams shut.
It is a disaster. You cannot sprint a marathon, and a conversation is a marathon. The truth is, native speakers do not talk in one continuous, unbroken stream. We pause constantly. We pause to breathe, we pause to think, and most importantly, we pause to help the listener digest what we just said.
Pausing is not a sign of weakness or a lack of vocabulary. Pausing is a deliberate, highly advanced conversational tool. It is the punctuation of spoken English.
I love that analogy. When you write a paragraph on a piece of paper, you use commas, periods, and paragraph breaks. If you handed someone a page of text with no punctuation whatsoever, it would be a nightmare to read.
They would have no idea where one idea ended and the next idea began. They would get lost.
The exact same thing happens in spoken English. If you speak without pausing, you are handing your listener a giant block of unpunctuated text. Their brain has to work overtime to figure out where your sentences begin and end. You are actually making it harder for them to understand you.
So, we need to learn how to insert verbal commas and periods into our speech. This brings us to the core concept of today's episode, which is called chunking, or speaking in thought groups.
A thought group is a small cluster of words that belong together logically and grammatically to form a single idea. It is a chunk of meaning.
Last night, I went to the grocery store to buy some milk, but they were completely sold out.
That is a long sentence. If you are a victim of the speed myth, you will try to say all 20 words in one single breath. Last night, I went to the grocery store to buy some milk, but they were completely sold out.
When you say it like that, it sounds rushed, panicked, and flat. You lose all the musicality we built in the first 4 episodes.
But a native speaker will break that sentence down into smaller, digestible thought groups. The first group is the time, last night. The second group is the action and destination. I went to the grocery store. The third group is the purpose, to buy some milk. And the final group is the complication, but they were completely sold out.
Now here is the secret rule of the rhythm of fluency. Connected speech, which we learned in episode 3, happens inside the thought group. You flow like a river inside the chunk, but between the chunks, you pause.
Last night, I went to the grocery store to buy some milk, but they were completely sold out.
It sounds so much more natural. It sounds confident. The pauses are only a fraction of a second long, but they create a world of difference.
Those micropauses do 2 critical things. First, they give your listener a split second to process the image you just gave them. When I say, last night, you picture the evening. When I say, I went to the grocery store, you picture me at the store. I am handing you the puzzle pieces one by one, allowing you to put them together.
If I throw all the puzzle pieces at your face at the exact same time, they just bounce off you.
Exactly. The second thing those pauses do is give you, the speaker, a chance to physically reset. You get to take a tiny micro breath. You get to rest your jaw and your tongue for a millisecond before launching into the next thought group.
This physical reset is absolutely vital for maintaining good pronunciation. We talked about energy management in Module 1. You only have so much breath in your lungs. If you try to speak 20 words on one breath, the last 5 words are going to be a mumbled, breathless mess because you have no air pressure left to form the consonants.
But if you pause after every thought group, your lungs are constantly topped up with air. You have a full tank of gas for every single idea. Your final word sounds just as crisp and clear as your first word.
So, how do you know where to pause? How do you identify a thought group in the middle of a real-time conversation?
There are a few natural boundary lines in English grammar that tell you exactly where to put a pause. The most obvious one is punctuation. If you are reading out loud, or if you imagine your sentence written down, you always pause at a comma, a period, a question mark, or a semicolon.
But beyond punctuation, we also pause before conjunctions. Words like and, but, because, so, and or. These words signal a shift in direction, so we take a breath before we make the turn.
We also pause before relative clauses, which usually start with words like who, which, or that. For example, I saw the man who stole my car. The pause comes right before the who.
Prepositional phrases are another great place to pause, especially if they are long. Words like in, on, at, under, or through usually start a new thought group. I left my keys on the kitchen counter.
Now, I know some of our listeners are thinking, then and Anna, you told us in Module 1 not to think about grammar while we speak, and now you are telling us to look for relative clauses and prepositions?
That is a very valid point. And you are right, we do not want you actively analyzing the grammar tree while you are talking to someone at a party. The grammar rules are just training wheels.
You use the rules when you are practicing alone in your room. When you are reading a text and marking your pauses, the grammar helps you find the boundaries. But in the real world, you do not use grammar to find your pauses. You use the rhythm.
You use the physical sensation of needing a breath, and you use the logical sensation of finishing a single image. A thought group is just one picture in your mind. Once you have painted that one picture, you pause, and then you paint the next one.
Let us shift gears a bit and talk about the psychological power of the pause. Up until now, we have talked about pausing for physical breathing and for logical clarity, but there is a third type of pause, and it is the most powerful tool in your entire communication arsenal.
We are talking about the dramatic pause, the rhetorical pause, the pause you use intentionally to make people pay attention to you.
In Western business and social culture, silence is equated with confidence. When you are nervous, your instinct is to fill every single second of dead air with noise. You babble, you rush, you use filler words like and You do this because you are afraid that if you stop talking, someone will steal your turn or judge you.
A nervous speaker acts like their time is running out, but a confident speaker acts like they own the time. They are completely comfortable sitting in silence.
Imagine you are in a job interview. The interviewer asks you, "Why should we hire you for this position?"
A nervous learner will instantly start rapid-firing their answer. I am a very hard worker and I have 5 years of experience and I really love this company and I learn fast. It all blurs together and it sounds desperate.
Now, imagine a blueprint student in that same interview. They hear the question. They do not answer immediately. They hold eye contact. They take a slow, visible breath. They wait 2 full seconds, and then they speak.
They say, you should hire me because I solve complex problems.
That 2-second pause before they spoke did more to prove their confidence than any vocabulary word ever could. It signaled to the interviewer, I am not intimidated by your question. I am taking my time to give you a thoughtful answer because my words have value.
You can also use the dramatic pause right before you deliver a crucial piece of information. We call this the cliffhanger pause.
A cliffhanger pause builds anticipation. It forces the listener to lean in and wait for the resolution. Think about how a good comedian tells a joke. The entire joke relies on the pause right before the punchline.
If we take a professional example, let us say you are giving a presentation on your team's quarterly results. You could just read the slide and say, "Our profit increased by 50% this year."
But if you want to command the room, you use a cliffhanger pause. You look at the audience and say, I am thrilled to announce that this year our profit increased by 50%.
That 1-second pause after the word by changes the entire dynamic of the room. It creates a vacuum, and the audience's attention gets sucked right into it. They literally cannot look away because human brains are wired to wait for the end of the pattern.
This is such a crucial skill for non-native speakers because we often feel like we do not have the authority to hold the room. We feel like we have to apologize for our English by speaking as fast as possible to get it over with.
You have to stop apologizing. You have a voice and your ideas matter. When you use a dramatic pause, you are claiming your space. You are telling the native speakers around you, wait for me. I am building a thought
and it is worth listening to.
Let us talk about another massive benefit of pausing, which relates directly back to the translation trap from Module 1. When you are in the middle of a sentence and you suddenly forget a word, what is your immediate physical reaction?
For most people, the physical reaction is panic. The eyes dart around, the chest tightens, and the mouth immediately starts making filler noises. Like, you know.
Those filler words are the sound of your brain buffering. They are the sound of you crossing the translation bridge to search your native language for a rescue word.
But filler noises are incredibly distracting to the listener, and they kill your momentum. So what is the solution? The solution is to replace the filler noise with a silent pause.
This takes practice, but it is life-changing. When you hit a roadblock and you cannot find your phrasal block, do not say Just close your mouth, swallow, take a breath.
Sit in the silence for a second. Use that silent second to build a mental bridge, like we learned in episode 6 of the first module. Find a simpler way to say it using the good enough rule. And then, once you have the new route, open your mouth and continue.
To the listener, a silent pause does not sound like you forgot a word. It sounds like you are being thoughtful. It sounds like you are carefully choosing the perfect word to express your brilliant idea. They will respect the silence. They will not respect the
It is all about the illusion of control. When you pause silently, you maintain control of the interaction. When you panic and fill the air with nervous noises, you lose control.
Let us do a quick demonstration of this, because the contrast is really powerful. Then, I want you to answer a simple question, but I want you to pretend you forget your words halfway through. First, do it the nervous way, with lots of filler sounds.
Well, on Saturday, I went to the big park in the city, and I walked around the water in the middle.
It is completely exhausting to listen to. I feel anxious just hearing you do that.
Okay, well, on Saturday, I went to the big park in the city and I walked around the water in the middle.
Wow, the difference is staggering. The second version sounds like you are a poet carefully constructing an image. The first version sounds like you are lost. The only thing that changed was turning noise into silence.
Silence is your best friend. It gives you time to think, it gives your listener time to process, and it makes you look like a confident authority figure.
As we wrap up this concept, I want to tie it all back to the idea of the river. We said in episode 3 that connected speech is the flowing water.
But a river without banks is just a flood. It is chaotic and destructive. The pauses are the banks of your river. They give the water shape. They guide the flow. You need both the continuous movement inside the thought group and the solid, silent banks between them to create a beautiful, manageable river.
That is the perfect summary of the rhythm of fluency. Flow and stop, connect and pause, peaks and valleys.
Which brings us to your mission for episode 5. We want you to start actively building the banks of your river.
Your homework for this week is what we call the breath mark exercise. I want you to find a short article in English, a news story, a blog post, or a short story. Print it out on a physical piece of paper if you can.
Take a pen, and I want you to read through the text and draw a vertical line wherever you think a pause should happen. Draw a line at every comma and period. Draw a line before conjunctions like and, or, but. Draw a line to break long sentences into bite-sized thought groups.
Once you have marked your entire text with these visual pause lines, we want you to read it out loud.
Read the words inside the thought group smoothly, using your connected speech rules. But when you hit a vertical line, you must physically stop, take a small breath, and then start the next group.
I am not going to rush this.
After you have practiced this a few times, come down into the comments section of this episode. We want you to tell us about your experience with the silent pause.
When you replaced your filler words with silence, did it feel awkward? Did it feel powerful? Tell us how it changed your physical sensation of speaking. We love reading your reflections on these physical shifts.
It is going to be challenging to stop saying but the reward is a level of speaking confidence you have never felt before.
You are doing incredible work. You have reached the halfway point of the physical module, and your English is fundamentally transforming.
In our next episode, episode 6, we are going to look at another massive shortcut native speakers use. We are going to talk about contraction mastery.
We are going to show you how native speakers take perfectly good grammar words and smash them together with an apostrophe to save even more time. It is going to speed up your conversational flow immensely.
You will definitely want to be here for that. But for today, embrace the silence. Find your thought groups and remember that your words have value, so give them the space they deserve.
I am Ben.
And I am Anna. If you are enjoying this deep dive into the rhythm of English, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Share it with a friend who talks a little too fast. Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and remember, learning English with us is
A piece of cake. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time on the English Chatcast.